Hello everyone, how are we all doing today? I'm about to show you must-have VSTs for beginners trying to audio engineer their own music. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So something I would definitely say is a must-have plugin is buying Nectar from iZotope. It can be a bit pricey, but it is so well worth it. And the reason is because they've designed this to be specifically catered towards engineering vocals, and they have literally every single plugin that you need in here that sounds good in order to get these things taken care of. For instance, they have compressors, they have pitch correction, they have delay, dimension, EQ, like they have all these different things, and it's literally insane. They have saturation. That's why I definitely suggest go ahead and buying Nectar. One thing that I really like about using Nectar Pro 2 is that this serves as the vocal chain. So in a situation where your vocal chain looks like this, most of these plugins would already be inside of Nectar. Like for instance, this would be, both of these would be in Nectar, this would be in Nectar, this would be in Nectar. So you'd be pretty much saving up so much space inside of your actual lead bus, which is really nice. I have a lot of problems with that. I actually have to normally end up going out and sending tracks to the vocal bus in order to get that problem taken care of. But that would be really nice if you're interested in doing something like that as well. So I want to be totally transparent with you all. The only thing about buying Nectar Pro, there's some of these plugins that are mid at best, and some of them are a lot better than others. So for instance, the pitch correction, I would not suggest using this pitch correction. It doesn't really do too much of a good job. It does an okay job, but I much rather buy Auto-Tune Pro. The pitch correction just sounds a lot better. You have a little bit more control. But over here, the compressors as well, I never really got these compressors to sound that good. I didn't really like the way they sounded. But other than that, I suggest the harmony sounds pretty nice, and the saturation sounds pretty nice. The de-esser can be pretty cool too. So mainly compressor, the de-esser, the EQ, the harmony, and the saturation are some of the plugins that I really enjoy using out of this reverb. So pretty much just the de-esser, the EQ, the harmony, and honestly the gate as well, and a bit of the saturation. Those are like some of the best things out of this whole thing right here, Nectar Pro. Really cool if you're interested in trying it out. I think it's close to like 200 bucks. If we're talking about 200 bucks for all these different types of things, it's pretty worth it. And I'm pretty sure they offer like a bundle where you can do 20 bucks per month instead of paying like 200 bucks at once. So that's also really cool as well. Another must-have plugin, my personal opinion, definitely de-esser. The reason why I say go ahead and buy this de-esser is because it's very simple and straight to the point. There's only a few different adjustments that you need to make, which is the threshold and the frequency. This monitor right here just allows you to listen to how much of the sibilance you are compressing down. But very simple de-esser to use. Is very popular. That's why I suggest you go ahead and buy it. I went through a lot of trouble trying to use multi-band compressors as a de-esser in the past when I was just a beginner, before I even knew how a multi-band compressor worked. So it caused me more problems than solutions. And I definitely feel like a lot of other people will go through some of the similar things that I went through in the past. You trying to use multi-band compressors, looking for free ways to use de-essers with some of the stock plugins that you have inside of your DAW. But I say it's honestly just well worth it. Go ahead and buying a de-esser. Literally, this probably takes about like 2 or 3 minutes to go ahead and get adjusted, and then you can move on to the next step in the process. I remember when I first started trying to use multi-band compression as a de-esser, it took me like 20 minutes to get that part figured out, and in the end, it didn't even sound like I was actually de-essing the vocal. So there's definitely ways that you can de-ess with multi-band compression, but I just think it's a bit more counterproductive to use multi-band compression unless you're just absolutely dirt broke and you don't want to spend money on any plugins at all. Then use a multi-band compressor. But other than that, if you have 30 bucks to spend, go ahead and buy that de-esser. Next thing, compressors from Waves. The CLA 2A and the CLA 1176, these are both about 30 bucks a piece. Very useful plugins. They're modeled after the hardware version of these plugins, which is really cool. If you're not really too familiar with any of these compressors right here, the CLA 2A is a more balanced type of compressor. It's automatically hard set to like a 3-to-1 ratio. This compressor is really meant for having balanced sounds, smoother, crispier type sounding vocals, and the 1176 is a more aggressive, harder type compressor. You can go as high as having a 100-to-1 ratio on this compressor, which is absolutely freaking insane. What a lot of people like to use with these two compressors, a dual compression method. I've talked about this dual compression method on my channel a lot in the past. What this method involves is using this compressor right here to attack the peaks of your vocals, and using this nice balanced compressor right here to round out the dynamics of your vocals, which will make your vocals overall sound a lot more controlled and a lot more thicker and fuller and crispier, which is really nice. That's why I really enjoy using this. This can also be very nice for using parallel compression. If you don't know what parallel compression is, it's where we mix a wet and a dry signal together in order to create a thicker, bolder sounding vocal. But anyways, these compressors go well for almost all of that, so I should just go ahead and buy it. Very versatile compressors. In most situations, you're not really going to need to use too much of anything else. Also, I forgot to mention that you can use both of these compressors as a limiter, which is pretty freaking cool. So yeah, you definitely want to try both of these compressors out. The fourth thing I wanted to go over with you all was our pitch correction or Auto-Tune Pro. Auto-Tune Pro goes for about 200 bucks. It's really nice, and the reason why I really enjoy using Auto-Tune Pro is because first off, you have so many different types of ways to adjust your vocals, to adjust the pitch correction for your vocals. I mean, you have retune speed over here. You have so much detail control over your auto tune. It's actually insane. You have the option to go just auto tune, or you have the option to go pitch correction, where you can manually correct the pitch of your vocals instead of the more robotic version, which is auto tune. But if you were to use auto tune, you have options to actually humanize the auto tune and make it sound a bit more natural. You can add natural vibrato, you can add flex tune, you can add retune speed. You have tracking over here, which controls the sensitivity of your auto tune to your voice according to how much background noise is present inside of the recording. Really freaking nice. And you can choose between the classic auto-tune, or you can just use the regular auto-tune. So freaking cool. There's honestly a lot to unpack from this one plugin alone, but we can go over that in a later date. Now, if you're not interested in spending the 300 bucks on your auto-tune, there's definitely cheaper routes that you could take. There's an auto-tune version for about 100 bucks. Only thing is, you have a lot more limited features. And on top of that, Waves has a pitch correction auto-tune, which is pretty much the same thing, called Waves Roll-Tune. It was actually the first type of auto-tune that I've had. Right, here goes Waves Roll-Tune right here. It's honestly pretty cool. As you can see, you just don't have as much detail control as you do in the Auto-Tune Pro, but you have everything that you honestly need. You have the note transitions over here. You have the speed of the Auto-Tune. You can control the scale. Of course, you can control the scale, but you can control the dynamic range. You can control so many different things in this Auto-Tune, but it's just not as controlled. And the reason why I stopped using this, honestly, was because I was experiencing a problem with the actual Auto-Tune. It was sounding a little bit too robotic for my liking, and Auto-Tune just sounds a lot smoother. In my personal opinion, I was able to adjust the settings to the point where I was able to get it a lot more smoother sounding and more natural sounding, because I'm not the type of person to go out here and manually pitch correct my vocals. I just don't have time for that. I'll let somebody else do that. If I'm mixing all my vocals by myself right now, I'm just using Auto-Tune, and I'm gonna find ways to use the most natural sounding Auto-Tune. And this specific Auto-Tune right here, it's cool if you're into a different type of sound, if you're into that really robotic-y type sound, but if you're looking for a more natural sound, I definitely go with Auto-Tune. Fifth plugin that you absolutely need is Soothe 2. If you don't know what Soothe 2 is, it's a dynamic resonance suppressor, meaning it will detect each specific sound wave inside of your audio signal, see if there's any distortion or muffliness inside of that sound wave, and suppress it down. So it kind of works similar to like a compressor, but it's not a compressor though. The end result isn't compressed sounding vocals, it's a smoother, silkier sounding vocal, which is really nice, and it can be used for so many different things. It doesn't even have to just be vocals. Another thing I like to do with Soothe 2 is side chaining it to the point where I'm ducking my instrument behind my vocals. Now what this will do is help my vocals stand out on a beat that's really clashing with my vocals. It'll make my vocals just sound a lot more clear and present in the mix, which is what we all love to hear from our vocals, honestly. It's about $200, but in my opinion is well worth it. You can do so many different things in it, and it is so nice to buy. Last thing for mastering, I'm only gonna suggest you buy one thing, and that is Ozone 10. The reason why I suggest you buy Ozone is because it has every single mastering plugin that you need, and they all sound great. 10 out of 10 plugin. I would definitely recommend you buy this one. Definitely, you definitely want to buy this one. It has so many different types of plugins in here. If you look down here, these are all the different types of plugins you get for mastering your vocals. You get a few different variations of EQ. You get a dynamic EQ, regular EQ, you get a vintage compressor, and you also get a multi-band compressor. You get an imager, exciter. You get so many different things, master relevance, low end focus, tape. You get so many different things. It is so nice to use this. I highly suggest you try this. I use Ozone 10 in every single song that I make. Literally, I'm not even over exaggerating. Ozone 10 every single song that I make, because it is so freaking useful. It has every single plugin that you will need for mastering. Definitely suggest you try it. All right, everyone, these are my personal VST purchases that I think you should definitely buy, especially if you're a beginner. And the reason why I say that is because if you're learning how to use plugins like this from ground up, it'll be a lot easier for you to do things later on. So it's like you're putting yourself ahead of the ball game. In a lot of situations, people just start off using stock plugins, and then they work their way up to buying other plugins that they think they may need. But I'm pretty much just helping you by giving you all the sauce right now, because most of the time you don't really need to buy any plugins. It can just definitely end up being a waste of money. So these are just plugins that I say are like the basic of the basic you absolutely need, and there's like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All the plugins I just suggested to you will be very useful to you one way or another in the future. That's why I only wanted to make sure I suggested these specific plugins. But all right, everyone, if you're wondering how to mix your vocals with stock VSTs inside FL Studio, make sure you hit the link in my description so I can give you a detailed step-by-step guide on how to do just that, which I can guarantee will 5 times the speed in which you progress. I hope you got a lot of value out of this video, everyone. Make sure you hit like and subscribe if you did. I'll catch you all in the next one.